Tua and the Elephant, written by R.P.Harris. Chapter 6, Meeting Auntie Orchid. After following the river Bing in the dark, Tua found her bearings and led the elephant down back alleys and unlit street until she came to Soi 4, where her auntie lived. "Wait here, Chang," Tua said. She stepped out of the shadows and knocked gently on the back door, imagining what she was going to say to her auntie. But before she had time to rehearse a speech, the door flew open and Auntie Orchid was standing in its place, wearing a red silk robe and a green cold cream all over her face. "Tua!" she sang out as if calling her in for supper. "What are you doing here?" she asked suddenly, as if she couldn't remember inviting her over. "It's late," she declared, but that made it sound like she had invited her over and Tua was late in arriving. "Well, it's not that late, I suppose," she decided. "Come in if you are coming." "Ka, Auntie." Tua bowed a wide, glanced over her shoulder and stepped into the house. "Was I expecting you?" Auntie Orchid asked as she closed the door behind Tua, thinking it's best for both parties if she got this matter sorted once and for all. "I have an elephant," Tua said, ignoring the question. Then she began to relate the story of how she had rescued an elephant from a pair of rogues who were mistreating it, how they had stolen money from a poor woman and her baby, and what else was she to do? "That's nice, darling." Auntie Orchid yawned. Every girl should have a special friend. The yawn reminded Orchid that it was quite late after all. "Ka, Auntie, can I show it to you?" "I don't know, can you?" "I mean, may I show it to you?" "Yes, you may," said Auntie Orchid, "if you must." Tua opened the door and gestured with her head for her auntie to look outside. The elephant had moved out of the shadows and was standing on the porch, its trunk curled in front of its face as if it were about to knock on the door. "See?" Tua turned back to Auntie. Auntie Orchid clasped her hands to the sides of her head and flung open her mouth as if to scream, but she didn't. She stretched out her leg and gently closed the door with her foot instead. "Tua, darling," she calmly asked, "would you please tell me why there is an elephant standing on my back porch?" "I told you already, Auntie. There were two bad men being mean to the elephant, and it asked me to help, so I followed it to the river and—" All right, I remember now. Slow down. Take a deep breath." Auntie Orchid inhaled deeply, following her own advice. "First of all," she continued, "that elephant is not an it. She's a she." "It is? How do you know?" Tua hadn't considered the possibility that the elephant was a she. It was an elephant. But now it was a she, like she was. Tua wanted to open the door and look at her again. "I know because I am a country girl. That is, I was a country girl. Of course now I'm Lady Orchid, the Lotus of the North, and Chiang Mai's First Lady of Song," she trilled musically. "Comedy," she grinned toothily, "and tragedy," she frowned forlornly. At the conclusion of this performance, she took an extravagant bow. "I grew up in the country and I know elephants." With that, she flung open the back door and leaned out to look at the elephant in the eyes. "Oh, look at that face. Isn't she lovely?" Auntie Orchid batted her eyelashes at the elephant, perhaps a little envious, for elephants have very long and beautiful eyelashes. Then she turns to Tua and added, "But that doesn't mean she can come in the house." No, of course not, Auntie. Tua shook her head. Where should we put her then? Auntie Orchid imagined trying to explain to her neighbors why there was an elephant in her backyard. All right, she sighed, but not in the bedroom, and we had better put down some newspaper, she added with a shudder. Come in, Chang, Tua said. She was already thinking that she needed to give the elephant a name.